Columbia faculty stage walkout in support of student Gaza camp on campus. Ilhan Omar backed the professors and said, this is about the genocide in Gaza, and the attention has to remain on that. Okay, this story is just massively big. There's so many moving parts to this. There's the students who are chanting pro-Hamas stuff. There's the professor who was denied entry. We're going to have to break this up into a bunch of different bits, but let's start with the core of this for those that haven't seen the context. This has been dominating the news for the past week with escalation as MIT, Yale, and now Columbia have these massive protests emerging, which are at essence anti-Israel, but have now come to umbrella a lot of, look, there's like Jewish people that are being harassed and yelled at for simply being Jewish. But I want to clarify that it's because they're conflating Jewish with Zionist. So in one instance, a guy shows up with a Star of David and they're like Zionists. And then here we go. And it's just getting weird. I don't know where to begin with this. There's so much going on.
I just got to be honest. I think the most hilarious possible way to protest against Israel and in favor of Palestine is to occupy land that belongs to somebody else. And then you say you have the moral authority to do so you can't get kicked off.
I can respect that, I guess. There's a funny video where one of the Jewish guys, it's like he's like wearing a jacket and he's got like a hat on, and he's like, we're just trying to walk through, and they're like, we were here first.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh.
He's like, hold on a second.
Well, that one's kind of funny. That's kind of the point of the protest, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, even more so, it's like, oh my gosh, the leopards ate my face, why are people not understanding? The Jewish community has so often voted Democrat, and then you have President Obama, you have President Biden literally give pallets of money over to Iran, and we know that Iran is funding Hamas, who's doing these attacks, and now we have it here in America, and it's like, why are people so surprised that we're seeing this now going on? And I hope that the Jewish community is going to understand that if they want any pathway forward, they need to come home to the Republican Party.
It's interesting because I really think this conflict has made left-leaning voters very aware that the younger generations do not believe the same things that they do. They wear the same letters. They're all voting Democrat, but they have completely different positions on this issue. I mean, the head of the owner of the New England Patriots just announced today that he's going to pull any funding that he gives to Columbia, which is where he went to school, because he's like, this doesn't represent anything I support. They are falling apart because they are actually a very broken party.
I think I tweeted this out, and a lot of very pro-Israel people got mad, but it's true. I think support for Israel in this country is done. And the only thing holding it together right now is the older generation. In the younger generation, you have America First nationalists, which comprise a lot of Trump's base. Not all of it, but a lot of it. And they like Israel. They think Israel has a right to exist and defend itself. We just shouldn't be paying for it.
Yeah.
Which means they're continually going to deny aid packages for military funding. And then you have on the left, the AOC, Ilhan Omar types who are, we ain't giving Israel any money because they just plain don't like Israel. What does that mean? Give it 20 years and the support for Israel evaporates. And what's going to start happening is already right now you're seeing with these aid packages for Ukraine, Taiwan, Israel, huge pushback. Democrats overwhelmingly supporting it. But with what's happening on college campuses, Democrats would have to lose massively in order for support for Israel to remain. I don't know where you go from there, though. With deep state support for Democratic politicians, the only thing that's going to happen is more and more of the base is going to be anti-Israel, and they're not going to get elected. So what is the deep state going to switch to supporting Republicans now?
Well, it's interesting. You mentioned something that I think is really important and instructive here, which is the fact that there are many Americans who don't necessarily think that Israel shouldn't exist, but who do not want American resources to go towards fighting this nation's war for it. And when Israel comes up in the American media, it's virtually always about some kind of conflict. And so much of the media wants to encourage American support for it, though, again, it depends on the publication, etc. I think you're mostly right. If support for Israel means support for the IDF and what Israel's military is doing, or I should even say more broadly, the United States having to support and fund that, then yes, I would say most young people don't support Israel. You're not going to see much support for it recover in the future here. And you can, and I've said this on the show before, you can say, there's great people in Israel, etc., but criticizing the same way that you criticize America. Like, I love America. I also don't co-sign every single thing America does militarily. And I think that a lot of young people, they don't even necessarily have a strong opinion one way or another on Israel. They wouldn't say they like it. They wouldn't say they dislike it. They would just say, we don't really need to be involved.
Right. And I think especially on the heels of passing, $17 billion in aid for Israel over the weekend, I mean, this is going to spark a lot of irritation among young people who feel the strains of the economy. But I also think it's interesting, I don't know if you guys have been following this, but there were a lot of layoffs at Google's last week because there were in-office protests where some people were arrested, taken out because they were occupying an executive's office because they're against Project Nimbus, which is this deal.
Oh,
that,
yeah.
Right. Amazon and Google are involved in this, and it's they're supporting Israel's military through cloud technology, or like allowing them to use cloud technology for some of their operations. And you have these young people who have grown up being told you are political, you're left-leaning, and also you should be active. You should stage protests. You should be disruptive. And now these chickens are coming home to roost, so to speak, because they are acting out in a way that they believe to be morally right. They are against some of these things, but all of the companies that have benefited from the progressive ideology their workers have been taught are now like, wait a minute, but you can't do that here. Like, that was their CEO's message afterwards, like, not in the workplace.
So the big story for us last week was that our two biggest episodes ever got deleted from YouTube. Mm-hmm. Joe Rogan, Alex Jones, Michael Malice, Blair White, Drew Hernandez, me, Luke, Ian. It was massive. And then Michael Malice and Alex Jones both deleted the same time. Luke Rudkowski of We Are Change, man, I can't talk tonight, just had, he tweeted out one of his videos from 2012 just got taken down. And I'm like, something happened at Google where they flipped a switch and they were like, they have a switch that says like election interference on, off. And they're like on. And, but you look at what happened with this Google employee thing over Israel. Yeah. Employees occupied their own boss's office and got arrested. They fired 28 of them, right? Mm-hmm. Hannah Claire? It was 28?
It was 28 in total.
Okay,
I can't remember how many got arrested. Sorry.
You were very quiet, and I was like, I must be wrong.
No. I'll pull the number to be exact. But it was massive, and it was in two different offices, which means it was a coordinated, effort from different people. And the group behind it was this group called No Technology for Apartheid, I believe. Again, I should pull my article, which is on Scanner News. You guys can read it there. But again, this is like a form of activism that young people feel as though it is their responsibility to carry out, which I find interesting because, again, I think this is showing Democrats that the young people they cultivated and raised don't believe the things they thought they did.
Man, it's crazy. But that point is, yes, the employees at Google are probably interfering with shows like this. The thing about the protests on Columbia, there's this video where a woman claims, and to be fair, it's a woman claiming this, so fine, I'll take it with a grain of salt. But she says her and another guy walked onto, I think it was Yale or Columbia, I'm not sure which, it might have been Columbia. And the guy was wearing a Star of David. So one of the activists said, hey, everyone, there are Zionists here. Can we mic check? We're going to form a line. And it's the creepiest thing ever. Actually, I'll find the video and I'll pull it up in a second. But he starts calling them all Zionists. Here's the thing. People are calling me a Zionist for one reason. Not because I support Israel. No, my attitude is more America first. Like, sure, they're a country. Their war is their war. What they do is not related to America. I mean, it is insofar as we're giving them money. Hey, I'm not in favor of us sending these massive military aid packages over there. I say we stop doing this. Still a Zionist. Why? To many of these activists, the word Zionist means anyone who recognizes Israel's existence.
Yes.
And it has to do with the Balfour Declaration. Their attitude, and I asked them, I'm like, why are you calling me a Zionist, dude? And he's like, well, you think Israel's real. And I'm like, Israel's a place, it's a country, it's got borders, it's got a government. And they're like, yeah, no, they don't think it is. Their belief, and it's not literally every single person who's anti-Israel. It is specifically, there's elements of the right and the left who believe Israel doesn't actually exist as a place. And that there's the Balfour Declaration 100 whatever years ago. They decided to make this. Then there was 1947? I don't know the years. But their attitude is, it's an imaginary place that was created by Zionists, and anyone who recognizes that it exists is also a Zionist. So that makes you a Zionist. What happens then is a Jewish guy shows up with the Star of David, and they're like, he is also a Zionist simply because. The problem, as I see it, is that if you've got, let's say 99 out of 100 of the protesters are strictly anti-Israel, and they have no problem with Jewish people. And my understanding is there are Jewish people who are actually part of the protest too, who are anti-Zionist. They don't like the occupation, whatever they call it. So what ends up happening is at Yale, for instance, if there's 10% or even 1%, let's say there's 1,000 people, so you have 10 people who just hate Jews. If a Jewish guy shows up and someone yells Zionist, the rest of the protesters don't care who that person is. They're not going to stop and say, hold on there, let me ask this guy if he's actually a Zionist. No. As soon as the mob points you out, they attack you. And I'll give you an example. When I was in Germany with Luke Rutkowski back during this big Antifa protest, we actually got split up. Luke was walking down the street with a German reporter, and Luke's, anarchist, Ron Paul, like some guy yelled Nazi Schweinhund at him. So what happened? Dude, Luke's video is crazy. People get off the curb and run up and start punching Luke and the other German reporter, not caring or knowing who they are. So now that you have all these protesters who are like Israel is bad, and many of them chanting "Long live Hamas" or a woman screamed while banging. It's just like a viral video. She's screaming, "We are Hamas." If a Jewish guy walks in and one anti-Semitic guy yells that person's a Zionist, the rest of the mob is going to go after him.
Well, and it just shows you that history truly repeats itself from, the Crucible to the Salem witch trials but I think it's important to note the goal of Hamas is literally the destruction of Israel. And an angle that nobody is really talking about is there are 750,000 Americans living in Israel. 600,000 of those people are eligible to vote. Why are we not getting every single one of those people get registered to vote and get them a meal and ballot? And furthermore, this is going to sound a little crazy to some people, but look at what the Democrats do. They resettle people from foreign countries into our country strategically. Look at Minnesota, how they were able to take the Somali population and take over, and that's how we have Ilhan Omar today.
And her daughter,
that
who's really
these
helped out in
ideas
Colombia.
were imported into our country. Why are we not being smart and strategic, for example, and taking Canadian Amish and resettling them into Wisconsin and Michigan and Pennsylvania? That's what I would do.
Dude, the left would vote for a
though.
border wall so fast if you started doing that kind of thing.
So Amish, come down, descend upon America.
Look, but they probably
Peacefully.
have values that are more similar, right? Like part of the problem with immigration is that you need people to want to participate in the system and who want to have a shared culture. Otherwise, it doesn't work. I mean, this is the constant problem with unfettered. It could be legal, but definitely illegal immigration into the country. And again, Democrats know this. They don't care about keeping the system. They care about the numbers. That's why you see the census becoming this issue. We're not allowed to have the question, are you legally a citizen of the U.S. on our own census? Because they want the numbers to play in their favor.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.